Hey there. Let's review where we're at in the UX design process. You've learned how to empathize with users, define user needs and problem statements, and come up with ideas for design solutions. You've also created a wireframe and made your way into the prototype phase. Now you're going to learn how to conduct research to test your prototype. Once you have your research findings, you'll use the insights to iterate on and improve your low-fidelity designs. By the end of this course, you'll know how to plan a research study, conduct research with a usability study, analyze and synthesize research results, share and promote research insights, and modify designs based on research insights. But before we get started, let me tell you a bit about myself. My name is Jason, and I'm a UX researcher and UX manager at Google. During my career here, I've worked on products like Google Chrome. I'm currently leading a team called Equity Engineering. Our team practices equity-focused design, and we work to make sure that Google's products, systems, and processes are fair and equitable for both Googlers and our users. I advocate for folks that are underrepresented and for groups that have been historically excluded from design. Focusing on equity in your design can be a powerful tool to help you effectively meet the needs of your users. Early in my career, I held many different jobs that were not in UX design. My journey into UX design has not been the most straightforward, but it has been fulfilling. Your career journey will be a unique one as well. I'm excited to guide you through your next course in UX design, which is all about conducting research and testing prototypes. To get started, we'll go through the 4 steps in a UX research study. Then we'll deep dive into the first step, planning a study, which has 7 elements. Ready to get started? Let's do it.
Hello, my name is Samar. I'm a user experience researcher at the design systems team at Google Search. I do user experience research trying to understand how different features on Google should look like to provide the best experience possible for users. I never really had any official UX certification or education. I studied in Egypt. As a student, I just used all my vacations to try different internships and learn about different fields to try to find what clicks most with me. And by the time I was applying for my first job, I thought data analytics was the thing that I liked most. I applied to different data analytics roles in different companies, like more than 50, I remember. I was very overwhelmed by the number of rejections I got as a fresh graduate that I felt so desperate to apply to Google, almost as a joke, almost as like, yeah, let me apply for Google, why not? And I got accepted, surprise. And I started as a data analyst in one of the Google search teams. It wasn't the one thing I'm passionate about. It was less interactive than I wanted. So I was really looking for something that's more interactive or a bit more creative. And I casually learned about the field of UX actually from a friend. And I just started learning about it. I started reading about it. I really like how I could make it overlap with the skill that I have, which was at the time analyzing large data. I could use what I'm good at and then build on that to do something that I'm more passionate about. I just started learning more about it. I took courses online. I'd learn something. I'd like read a book about research methods, and then I'd be like, okay, this method is so cool. I haven't learned about it before. Let me try to find a project to apply the knowledge that I've gained to, make it stick and also build my portfolio. I'd approach different teams at Google and be like, hi, I am an aspiring UX researcher. This is what I know. This is what I worked on previously. Would you like any help in your team? Can I like provide any help to work on a project that's UX research related with this team, basically? And I'd work on user research, and I did that for 3 years straight. I'd keep self-learning, reading books, taking courses online, and trying to implement this knowledge. My first project, I have mixed feelings about this. So I was so passionate about this project. It was like, in my mind, also the first step towards achieving this goal, which is eventually finding a UX research role. So I was so passionate. I put my heart in it. That said, it was also a disaster to some extent. It was a disaster in the sense that I was figuring everything for the first time. And I didn't know if I'm doing everything correctly. I hoped I was. I was doing my due diligence. I was asking for loads and loads of feedback. And I was like lucky to have people around me who are happy to give me feedback. Even though I still got my first job as a UX researcher, I still feel like sometimes I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, there's always someone who knows better. There's always someone who has more experience, more knowledge, does things in a better way. And the trick is, like, no one really expects you to be perfect. You just have to keep learning. Even if you reach your dream job, if you stop learning, you'll never progress, and then you lag behind, and then it would be like you never reached anything. When you've been working so hard to reach something, and then you reach it, and suddenly you're like, okay, what now? Am I done with learning? Should I relax? And the realization there, which I had all along, but it kind of materialized more, is learning is a never-ending cycle. If you reach your dream job, but you never learn more or work on your knowledge to be better or take on more challenges, etc., you'll never really advance, and you'll never really feel like you're actually good at your job, which is where most of the satisfaction comes from. Like, not just taking the job, being good at your job and advancing in your career is where most of the satisfaction comes from. And I felt like I'll never reach that if I stop learning. So here I am after my first role in UX research, and I'm still continuing my self-learning, and hopefully I'll always do.
I head up a team. We have a product lead, we have a business systems analyst, UX engineer, UX designer, UX researchers as well. And what we do is we define this as equity-focused research. So what this consists of is trying to speak with users from these underrepresented and sometimes marginalized groups to understand basically their experiences and their needs. So I grew up in Oakland here in California. I come from a lower socioeconomic status background. I understand like what my folks had to do to get a degree of social capital and resources to be able to give us a reasonable quality of life. I think of kind of the struggles my folks had, the struggles being a Black man, the struggles that I've gone through in terms of access to resources, access to education, straight on kind of discrimination because of the color of my skin and my background as well. Having that lived experience, I realized like I want to be able to advocate for people that are from my background and my community, but there are tons of other backgrounds and communities that are struggling in that same way. I think that's what kind of drives me to do the work, is that lived experience and understanding that there are people in need. So I studied medicine at UCSF, and I did my clinical rotations at SF General Hospital. As you transition from the preclinical years to the clinical years, these are the moments in which you're actually talking to people. And SF General being a county hospital, it was the first time essentially that I got to start to work with people that were from my own community. So I was working with a number of Black folks that were from lower socioeconomic status backgrounds. And there were patients there that were going through really, really horrible things. So I would sit down and I would talk to people sometimes for 45 minutes or an hour to kind of understand like what their backgrounds were and what their needs were, at least in the clinical space. And it was kind of those moments of understanding their needs and understanding kind of where the system had broken down for them, right? That I think I learned the most. And I could see the points at which these patients' physicians were missing the mark. They weren't getting the information that was necessary to help these people. And so a lot of that is why I left the field of medicine, because I wanted to do something that would be scalable and had a lot more to do with education and access for folks that had not had it up till that point. I actually left UCSF early before finishing. I got 3 out of 4 years in, and I went to Stanford instead and got into a doctoral program there in learning sciences and technology design. I got exposed to UX in general, product design, and UX research. And while I did my doctoral work, I was focused on understanding the experience of Black plus students at historically Black colleges and universities, these students that were pursuing degrees in computer science and electrical engineering. My work there was focused on understanding the challenges there and understanding kind of their ideas of their own identity as engineers. So I went through the doctoral program and got into an internship here at Google. I had a chance to then be able to convert to a full-time position after the internship, and I landed on a wonderful team, a Chrome UX team. I came onto that team to kind of get my chops, right? Like to understand what UXR really meant and to understand how to work in product design, right? But at the same time, when I came in the door, my intention was to be able to do equity work. Since kind of hitting the ground, I've been in programs and created my own programs that have focused on equitable access to education, and specifically equitable access to education in UX. I think my favorite part about my job is the ability to focus on equity. And I think for me, what that means is being able to advocate for groups that are underrepresented and marginalized, and groups that don't have as much agency or kind of access to a voice in the industry. So being able to speak with folks from these backgrounds and elevate their voices and elevate their needs is kind of the thing that keeps me going through the job day by day. I'm Jason, and I am the head of equity engineering at Google. Hi again. In this video, you'll learn about a process for conducting UX research called a research study. In a UX context, a research study is a step-by-step examination of a group of users and their needs, which adds realistic context to the design process. UX researchers adopt various methods to uncover problems and design opportunities. In doing so, they reveal valuable information which can be fed into the design process. The term research study is often shortened to study. There are 4 steps in a UX research study. We'll cover each step in more depth throughout the course. In this video, we'll simply set up the steps. To get started, step 1 is plan the study. Step 2, conduct the research. Step 3, analyze and synthesize the results. And step 4, share and promote the insights. For now, here's a little introduction to each. The first step is to plan the study. To plan a study, start by outlining the background for the project. Next, set goals for your research and write down the questions you want to answer. Then, establish the steps you'll take to conduct the study and select the people who will participate in the study. The work you do while planning the research study is incredibly important since it impacts every other part of your research. You need a proper plan to get successful research results. The second step is to conduct the research. During this step, you'll gather data. There are several techniques you can use, but the one we'll focus on in this course is called a usability study. A usability study is a research method that assesses how easy it is for users to complete core tasks in a design. The goal of a usability study is to identify pain points that the user experiences with your designs, so the issues can be fixed before the final product launches. During a usability study, you get a chance to see how users interact with your new product or feature. You can also interview users to learn more about their experience. The third step is to analyze and synthesize your results. This involves trying to find the actual meaning in the data. You want to figure out why the data is the way it is. Look for patterns in the quantitative data and explore trends in the qualitative data from participants' answers to interview questions. The last step is to share and promote your insights with the project's stakeholders. Project stakeholders are people who are involved in the project or who will be impacted by its results. Project stakeholders need the results of your research and need to agree with the direction of the project. For example, your project stakeholders might include other designers, the head of your department, or the engineers who will help bring your design to life. To share and promote your insights, you need to create a presentation. Your presentation should include the method you used to conduct your research, the data you collected, the conclusions you reached based on that data, and your recommendations for acting on those conclusions. The stronger the connection between your research conclusions and your recommendations, the more likely it is that your stakeholders will take the actions you've proposed. So why is conducting a UX research study important? Remember, the goal of user experience research is to prioritize the user. A UX research study helps us gain an understanding of users' problems in order to solve them. It can also help bridge the gap between what a business thinks the user needs and what the user actually needs before an expensive and time-consuming product is made. Okay, we've now defined the 4 steps in UX research study. Plan the study, conduct the research, analyze and synthesize the results, and share and promote the insights. In the next video, we'll begin our journey through the steps of the UX research study. We'll start by discussing the elements of a research plan. See you there.